12 years ago, I believed the world was unbreakable. My trust was my anchor, my faith, my armor. I looked at him and thought time had stopped. It felt like I had found what thousands dream of, a quiet harbor reflected in someone else's eyes. But one day, everything collapsed, without warning, without explanation. I remember that evening as if it happened yesterday. The faint scent of rain through an open window, the dim light in the room, his voice, a little quieter than usual, and the pause. That strange, heavy pause after which nothing could ever be the same. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just stood there, listening to my small world falling apart. That night, I swore I would never let anyone break me like that again. Years passed. Life slowly drained the pain, drop by drop. I learned how to live again, how to smile, how to work, how to dream. I became a mother, and my son was my salvation. In his smile, I found the reflection of a light that had once nearly faded inside me. But the scars remained. They lived quietly inside, hidden under layers of daily routines, unpaid bills, and hurried morning meetings. It seemed I had won. It seemed I had forgotten. Foolish, scars never disappear. They wait for the moment when your guard lowers, when your heart slows its beat. And then they remind you. Today, that moment has come. But that is a story for later. I will take a short pause. Write in the comments where you are listening to my story from, and if you have ever experienced something similar. I would love to hear your stories. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next part. I continue. It all started with something small. I was cleaning old boxes in the attic when my son called me. He was holding a faded photograph. In it, there I was, happy, still unaware of how quickly dreams can fall apart. Standing beside me was him, the man I once loved with all my heart. "Mom, who's this?" my son asked, his eyes full of innocent curiosity. The world froze. In a heartbeat, the air grew heavier. My hands started to sweat. My throat tightened. I took the photograph, and it was as if I had pressed rewind on an old tape. That evening, whispers behind my back, light footsteps down the hallway, the sudden silence where even the walls seemed afraid to breathe. I stood by the door, too scared to open it. My intuition screamed, but my mind pushed the awful thoughts away. When I finally pushed the door open, he was standing there. His eyes met mine, and in them there was no regret, no fear, only exhaustion, a strange cold exhaustion, as if everything had been decided long ago. He said nothing. He didn't have to. Sometimes silence is louder than any confession. The memories hit me so hard I almost dropped the photo. But I smiled at my son. That same tight, lifeless smile you learn to wear like a mask. "He's an old friend, darling," I said softly. "A very old one." My son nodded and ran off, forgetting about his discovery within minutes. But I stayed there, clutching a torn piece of the past I had tried so hard to bury. I thought the pain had faded. I was wrong. I tried to pretend everything was fine. For him. For myself. For that fragile reality I had spent years building from shards. I took my son to practice, cooked dinner, answered work emails. Everything as usual. Everything as if my heart wasn't trembling with every breath. But inside, the old, forgotten world began to crumble again. Memory, cruel and precise, brought back the details I had spent years trying to erase. Strange glances on his phone screen, hidden messages, names written in codes I didn't recognize, late calls with short, strained conversations, and that scent, the scent of someone else's perfume on his clothes when he thought I was asleep. Once I used to ask questions. I searched for answers, sought the truth I still wanted to believe in. "You're imagining things," he would say calmly. "You're too jealous," he would whisper, hugging me. "You ruin everything yourself," he would throw at me when words turned too sharp. I believed him because it was too frightening not to. But truth doesn't disappear. It finds its way through dreams, through snatches of phrases, through emptiness in someone's eyes. And one day, you simply see everything exactly as it is, without decoration, without hope. That night I understood. It had all been true. And with that realization, a part of me died. The part that believed in unconditional love, the part that thought loyalty could be eternal. It died silently, without a scream, like a song no one sang anymore. I wiped my hands on the apron, smiled at my son running into the kitchen, and realized the mask had become a part of me now, and maybe that's what growing up really means. I thought I had survived it all, thought I had learned how to close doors behind which pain lived. But that evening, left alone, I climbed up to the attic, the place where old boxes, sealed with forgotten memories, gathered dust. I wasn't looking for anything important, just something simple. But fate had other plans. The box creaked open. Inside were letters, postcards, faded photographs. Everything smelled of time, oblivion, and a strange heaviness. I sifted through the papers until my fingers touched a thick envelope without a name. It was thin, almost weightless. Yet holding it, I felt something tighten inside me. I opened it. On a folded piece of paper was a short note, written in unfamiliar handwriting. Not his, not mine, a woman's hand. "I'm sorry it happened this way, but he chose me, and he did it knowingly. I hope someday you'll understand." The words blurred before my eyes. I read them again and again. Every word struck me like a blow to the chest. It turned out it was even worse than I had imagined. It wasn't a moment of weakness, a mistake born from doubt or weariness. It was a choice, conscious, cold, final. I sat on the floor, surrounded by the shadows of the past. The world around me no longer felt familiar. It was as if the walls of the house I had spent years building had cracked, and the cold seeped in through the cracks. All these years I had lived clinging to a lie, just to stay afloat. I told myself he had simply stumbled, that love could still be real. But now I knew. It was real, just not for me. I will take a short pause. Write in the comments where you are listening to my story from, and if you have ever experienced something similar in your life. It is important for me to know if my words resonate with you. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next part. I continue. That night, I sat by the window for a long time. The wind played with the curtains, whispering something in its ancient tongue. Somewhere in the distance, an old branch creaked. The world was asleep, but inside me, a strange, quiet awakening was taking place. There were no tears, no screams, only heavy, dense silence filling the space around me. I stared into the darkness, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't searching for answers. I wasn't blaming myself. I wasn't remembering his face. Everything that had happened had simply happened, and nothing could change that now. The pain remained, but it no longer ruled me. It no longer dictated my actions, no longer colored my thoughts in dark hues. It had become a part of me, as natural as the scars on skin after a long-forgotten battle. I understood. Wounds don't heal when we hide them. They live their own life until we allow ourselves to acknowledge them. And then they become not a curse, but a memory of what we have survived. At that moment, I made a choice. to live differently. Not out of fear of losing someone, not out of bitterness from memories, but from strength, from respect for myself. I didn't know what would come next, but I knew who I had become. And in that silence, I was reborn. Write in the comments what you think about this story. Have you ever experienced something similar in your life? Your feedback is very important to me. I value each one of you, and I am grateful that you are here. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like so you don't miss new captivating stories. Wishing you a wonderful day. If you listen to the end, write the phrase in the comments. Silence speaks too.